If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to know the way and how to get there. Last year, Susan and I did a trip to New Zealand. We flew in the south, down south, Queenstown, and we're journeying from deep in the south up to Auckland. And there were various points along the way that we needed to get to. Accommodation was booked. There were things to see we were booked into, or tours or whatever. But each day we would get up and look at where the itinerary, where we had to get to, and looked at the maps. When we knew where we had to get to, we could work out which was the way we wanted to take. And we could plug it into Google Maps in the car and off we'd go, and it would direct us. There were lots of things to see along the way. If we didn't know where we were going, it was impossible to know how to get there. Sometimes we know where we want to get, but we don't know where we are. We get lost. I remember coming out of a church meeting once, and I'd gone to this place first time in broad daylight, or not broad daylight, it was still sunny. The meeting was in the night. I came out, it was pitch black. And I thought I'd go down this road, and I turned left at a set of lights, but this set of lights was too soon, so I kept going. And I kept going, and I couldn't find anywhere that even looked vaguely familiar from the trip I made down. I didn't know where I was, and it was before GPSs and Google Maps and all that stuff. I had a street directory, but it was dark in the car, and I couldn't read it easily. But I didn't know where I was. To know where I had to just keep driving until I found a place with a name that was familiar, that I could look it up and start getting my bearings and directions. And once I knew where I was and where I wanted to go, I could find the way. So often in life, we don't know the way. We don't know where we're going. We feel lost. Sometimes in life we've been rolling along, hurtling along, doing what we're supposed to do, caught up in the crowd, in what society pushes us into, the career, the life, the acquisition of gathering wealth and status, or whatever it is we're into. And then suddenly we wonder where we're going, where we're heading to. What's our destination? Is there one? Sometimes it comes in the midst of grief. A major event in life turns us upside down and inside out, challenges everything we've been working towards, or the direction, and suddenly what's it all about? Where are we actually heading? We don't know. We're lost. Not only do we not know where we're going, we don't know the way. And this was the case, I guess, for parts of the early church. John's church in the late first century were drifting along, perhaps. They were waiting for Jesus to return. There was this imminent return. I'm coming, I'll come and take you with me. But he never came. 60 years later, they're still waiting. They're caught up in the persecutions of empire, the estrangement from their Jewish cousins, and the tensions between them. And what does all this mean? And John writes this story for his community, which is the story of Jesus, written 60 years later, interpreting these words and these stories for a Christian community at the end of the first century. And in the particular passage we read this week, a story from John 14, Jesus is telling the disciples that he's going to leave. He's preparing them for the death that's coming. And he says, in a little while I'll be with you no more. I'm going, and I'll prepare a place for you. In my Father's house there are many rooms, mansions. It's a place for everyone. And I'll go there and prepare a place. And you know the way, you know where I'm going and the way I'm going. And Thomas pipes in and says, Jesus, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? And I think for the disciples in John's time, the Christian community, we don't know where we're going. We don't know where you are. How do we know the way? And then there's this very well-known verse that Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And that verse has been interpreted and reinterpreted and used and misused and abused in all sorts of ways to try and say this belief system, this way of believing, this dogma, this doctrine, this whatever is the truth, and you've got to believe it. And if you believe this, you'll find your way into heaven and this heavenly mansion and whatever else it is. I don't think that's what he's talking about. When we lose our way, when we lose our direction, Jesus becomes the way for us to follow. It's a way of being. The church I had to go to, or several churches, but one in particular, can you come in and help us to find our way? That wasn't the language they used, but that was the essence of it. We don't know what to do. What do we do next? There's been a big transition. We're in a time of change. We've had several key leaders either move away or one died, and we don't know what to do, where we're going. Things have changed, and we've changed the use of our premises. We had a group using it and renting it, and now that's gone, and we've got this space. We don't know what to do. We don't know where we're going. And that was a question I had to ask them. Well, who are you and where are you going? We don't know. Well, if you don't know who you are and where you're going, it's hard to know the way to get there. But as we talked, what really became obvious was they didn't need a set of directions. They didn't need this detailed plan laid out for them. They needed to discover the way of Jesus, to actually live into the life of Jesus, to live into the way he lived, to care for the vulnerable, to reach out into the local community and find where God was at work, or where people were crying out for support or help, where there was a lonely people, where there were people who were hungry, people who were grieving and lost, or people who were just needed something somewhere, and how they could reach out in love and grace and offer support and care. And that if they lived into the life that Jesus lived, they would find their way. And that way would lead them to where they needed to go, which was to live as God's people in God. But it's kind of more than that. So often we think we need a destination in life. We're told in so many different ways, whether it's a church or an organization or individuals or family or whatever. It's a destination. You've got to have a strong plan, a plan that lays your life out. And the messages we get as individuals, you've got to have more wealth, you've got to accumulate more stuff, more power, more status, control, knowledge, whatever it is, experiences, tick them all off. And there's this destination. If you get there, you'll have made it. And yet, we never seem to arrive. Because the more we get, the more we perceive we need. The more power we have, there's more power to get. We never quite reach this destination that's supposedly there. More than that, though, we never actually live. Because life is lived for the destination. It's when I get into a car, often, the journey to get somewhere is at best an inconvenience. I've got to drive along roads I don't really want to drive along a highway that's boring and just concrete, to get to the place I actually want to get. And it feels like a waste of time sometimes. And I think that's how we treat life. Life is kind of what happens as we get to the place. It's this inconvenience. We're always looking into the future for the thing that is yet to come, but never actually arrives. And whilst we're looking into the future, we're not living in the moment now. And I think all of Jesus' teaching is about inviting us to live in this moment, the only moment we have. To live and appreciate the little things, the realities around us. The petting of the dog who wants to come and play with you. The looking at the flower that's emerging. To spend some moments in the sunshine and let it sit on your face and feel the warmth. To have a cup of coffee whilst you're having a cup of coffee, instead of shoving it down your neck while you're doing a million things. To sit and enjoy the meal with people, not eat for the sake of eating. It's to live into the moment that is now. And he invites us, I am the way, the truth, and the life, is about my way, the way I reveal, the way of living, which is around justice, love, peace, hope, joy. These are the things that will flood your life with meaning and purpose, because they're what is real. They are the truth. In a world of so many different truths and voices and seductive voices and false truths like dear Mr. Trump constantly goes on about, there is wisdom that we often miss. And the deep wisdom that Jesus gives us is, if you want life, it's grounded in love. It's grounded in relationship. It's grounded in reconciled relationships and peacemaking. It's grounded in justice. It's grounded in lifting the poor and the lowly and the vulnerable up and giving them a place at the table. It's of sharing together life, not just with one another, but with the creatures of the earth and the very earth itself. And we fail to understand that as we destroy this earth, as it suffers under the weight of human abuse and use, we will suffer too. We are suffering. And so relationship, reconciliation, peace, hope, joy, inclusion, belonging, these are the currency of real life. This is the truth that he offers and the way into life that he offers us to live. And in this Easter season, we hear stories of people who have such deep faith. Martyrs. One of the other stories this week is Stephen. Stephen, one of the early martyr of the church. And he proclaims a peace and a life that he's found in Jesus, in this risen Christ who has set him free and liberated him in the most profound way. And those who don't like what he's saying take him out and stone him. But even as being stoned, he's giving thanks to God for the grace he's received. And it's only grace and deep love and profound experience of God that enables this to happen. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Those who live into my way find life. And God is there, holding you. You will see and know God in a deeper way. In everything, in the whole world, because God is revealed in all the little things and all the moments of life. So open your eyes and your ears and your heart and your being and live into this way. It's a gift of God. It's a life to be lived. And it's what we're invited into.